If you can make something and then like look at it afterwards and be just genuinely proud of it, like for yourself, whether it's a piece of clothing, a piece of art, a piece of music, a podcast, whatever, if you're genuinely happy with it at the end and it brings you like fulfillment and you've had a great time doing it and it's peace, I'm like, just do not trade that for anything.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Her Story in Sneakers podcast, where we're showcasing the waviest females in the sneaker industry, community and all things related. Today we have someone that is an ex-music producer, an ex-recording artist and also had their own label. We have the beautiful Sarah Akwisombe.
Oh, you were close. Akwisombe.
Akwisombe. Right.
But like everyone gets it wrong, so it's fine.
I'll leave that. I'll leave that in.
Do you know how to remember it? Aqua-zombie is how people always say it, like a water zombie. Like
okay.
Aqua-zombie. That's always how people remember it. Otherwise, every single person goes, I'm like, what?
I'm not usually bad with names, but yeah, I was like, is it S? Is it anyway?
That's all right. It's fine. We'll let it go. I'm all right with it.
This is who we have.
Yes. Hello.
So Sarah is a co-founder of the brand Not That Deep,
yes.
Not That Deep store with her partner, which is why she has that wonderful surname. Yeah. Everybody learn it. I'm sure it's going to be popping up on billboards and TV sometime soon.
I don't know about that. All right.
But like I said, you are, you've had a journey to get to where you are today.
Yes.
And also you are a Sunday Times bestselling author, which was something that I was really just fascinated with when I found out. When I learned about it, because obviously I know you from Julia because she wore your amazing jumper when I hosted the panel, and I was just like, that is such a sick kind of, I think like clothing to me, it's always been a way of expressing your personality, a way of like expressing just who you are and showing it to people that, at a first glance you can kind of see what someone's about. And I just think that if anybody that's wearing that, it kind of gives you an insight into their attitude towards life.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just thought it was sick. It's something so simple, but it has like you can really feel it.
Yeah.
So when I learned kind of a bit more about your background in regards to the book that you wrote, obviously it kind of all makes sense. I think a lot of what you do, it incorporates like spirituality and manifestation. So let's take it back. Kind of how did your journey begin? Because you seem to have had different paths, but like in kind of the public spotlight, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I've sort of like always found a way to like position myself at the front, even though that really like it's so weird because that's kind of almost never been the aim, but that's always just sort of what happened.
Yeah,
and I think that's usually just ended up happening because I'm quite a loner, like when it comes to working and stuff. Like I'm not very good at networking. I'm like not really like a social party person, and so a lot of the times like me being the face of something or the voice of something or whatever has usually come out of, oh well, I don't know anyone else who can do it. So like if I go back to like when I first started making music, like my whole thing, it was never to be a recording artist. It was always just to be a producer. Like I literally just wanted to be a producer, like in the studio with the artist. But I was like making all this music and like I didn't know, my stomach's gonna rumble the whole way through this. I didn't know any like artists, so I was like, well, like I'll just do something for now and then like I'll find someone to do it later. And then people started being like, oh, but this is kind of interesting, you should just put this out and blah blah blah. And so that kind of happened with that. And then like obviously with Not That Deep, what I'm doing now, if anything, the aim was to kind of start a brand so that I didn't have to be the face of it. Like because I went through loads of stuff in 2020 with my old business where I came under like loads of like public scrutiny and trolling and all this crazy stuff, and a lot of it was like my own fault. But I just really was like, I want to get out of it. I want to start something where people don't even know it's mine. But again, due to like being a bit of a loner and just kind of wanting to get stuff done as quickly as possible, and like not always being able to get models and stuff like that. Like, yeah, I just ended up being like, well, I'll have to take the pictures, or like I'll have to do the TikTok, or I'll have to, because otherwise it's going to slow down the progress of the brand.
Yeah.
So,
and I guess, sorry to cut you, but also I guess kind of to save resources. So like, you know, money and stuff like that. If you're trying to start your own brand, obviously you can't always afford to pay the models and the photographers and
it's like
work around everyone else's schedule.
So expensive. And yeah, exactly. Like it was always usually like either a saving money, saving time, trying to get to a goal like quicker. So just wanting things to happen. So yeah. Never been intentional, but always ended up being like the thing. So I think people think I'm like out there like, hey, look at me, and I'm like, no, don't. Like, I'm such an introvert, honestly.
Have you found it like when people have tried to, I don't know, engage with you or something, that they expect you to be kind of this out, especially because obviously the clothing, it's very bright and bold. It's kind of, do you think that people expect a version of you? And then
no, I think if anything, because when I'm online, I'm quite like not loud, but I'm quite silly. Like I like to be silly. I think, and also like things I've done before, I've been quite like outspoken. I'm always quite outspoken. I'm quite opinionated. So I think when they meet me, they're like, oh, she's a lot more like chilled than I thought she'd be. Like she's really kind of like, you know, quite laid back, like not really bothered, like exactly like, oh, it's not that deep, like everything's just a bit chill. And I think people are like, oh, we thought you'd be a lot more like, you know, opinionated and outspoken. And I'm like, well, that's because like on Instagram you see like a 10-second clip. Like obviously, you know, if I'm trying to sell something or if I'm trying to get my point across, I have to be really like direct and to the point, and that's how you get people's attention. But obviously in real life, like I'd never be the person in the room like at a party like trying to get people's attention. I'll be like in the corner just like sitting down like chatting shit with someone.
That's what sometimes I find it interesting to go like, do you know when people are like main character energy and stuff like that? It's like, it is interesting. I just find it so cool that somebody, no matter how shy or whatever they may be, like in a room full of people, like online, everyone can kind of, not that I think that people should be something they're not, but it gives people, you know, it's like I can present to you a version that 100%. I might only present to my friends. Like everybody is the person that you see. It's just they're not like that to everyone.
Exactly. Like me getting on my TikTok and doing my stupid dancing, like I wouldn't meet you and do this like straight away. But like if I'm with my friends, like I'll be the one who's like going like this and like doing the silly dancing. But yeah, it's like you kind of, because there's no one there other than a screen, you can kind of just go straight to sort of an extra version of you. But yeah, I think that's why I didn't realize it at first, but like yeah, when I spoke to some of my friends about like kind of my online persona and like all this, they were like, yeah, you're not really anything like you are on Insta. And I was like, what? I thought I was. But no.
I'm trying to think. I didn't have that much of a perception of you, to be honest.
Probably because you've started seeing stuff from me recently.
Yeah.
And I think like since 2020, I've definitely been a lot more like, I've kind of taken a step back. Like before 2020, I would literally be like, every single thing that I was doing would be like shared on Instagram. And every single part of my life or every single opinion I had would be shared. And I was always like, like going off all the time. And I can see that's why people would have that opinion. But it's good to know that obviously from someone like you who's learnt more about me recently, that I'm glad to know I'm not coming off like that.
No, you just seem, to be honest, you just seem very chill, very comfortable in yourself, happy, you know, at peace.
Yeah. And that's definitely like what I feel now. But yeah, like for people that have followed me for a long time, like if any of them see this, like they would be able to notice like once it got to 2020 and like the different kind of personality that I've definitely like just gone, hang on a second, like Instagram is not life.
Yeah, I think that's a point that a lot of people that are on social media heavily, they either have gotten to or they will get to at some point. It's like it's inevitable. But so was 2020 the year that you released the book?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It came out in August.
Was it after that did that attract a lot of kind of negative attention?
No. Well, a bit, but what happened was basically I had an online education business, like teaching women how to start a business.
A Noble
Business School,
Noble Business
and basically I kind of got into business with someone who turned out to be like kind of not who we thought they were.
Okay, yeah.
And that had a lot of like really negative knock-on effects to like the business, my reputation. We had a lot of customers who weren't happy, like, and then people started going to the press and saying that like I was a scammer because I'd worked with this person, and obviously that person was a bit dodgy.
So you were just guilty by association.
Basically, yeah. And obviously there was a lot of mistakes that I made, like personally as well, like even in getting involved with that person. But so it was a hard time, and I think it was really good though, because it kind of made me just like stop and take stock of everything and really be like, what do I want out of life? Because the path I thought my life was going has now kind of got really messed up, and like it was very public, and it was all in the all in the papers. It was like all in the media and stuff.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, oh, okay, the life that I thought I was going to have career wise isn't going to happen like that. And I shut down the business like as a result. And so it was kind of, it was, just a good time for me to kind of stop, reassess like what I wanted out of life and what I felt like most happiest doing and stuff like that. And, you know, I've been taking my family for granted a lot of that time because I was working so much. And yeah, there was just like so many lessons. I feel like a lot of people went through a kind of like real, I don't know what the word is, but like personal growth in 2020, right?
Yeah,
and it was just like my version, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of nice that it came at a time, if it was going to ever come at a time when kind of everybody was forced to reset, you know, in 2020 during a pandemic.
Yeah, so it kind of just got me back in touch with like things that I really wanted to do and that I'd missed out on, or I'd kind of, because where my business had been doing so well, I'd got like pulled away from my creativity, which has always been what I've wanted to do, like make music or like make clothes or do interior design or like lots of all these different things. And yeah, it just kind of made me be like, hang on, I'm going to get back into like making beats and I'm going to get back into doing creative stuff. And then I was like, oh my God, this is so peaceful and so enjoyable. And I was like, why have I stopped doing this? Oh, I know why I stopped doing this, because I was chasing money.
Yeah.
And like making good money. And obviously when that happens, you can get really like distracted and it just becomes like money. And I just got completely like blindsided by money. And I was like, actually, I need to get back to just doing some creative shit.
Yeah. But your book is titled The Money Is
Coming. I know. I'm like, yeah. So you can see that there was a big obsession with money, right? There was a lot of obsession with money. Like, I think I needed to like prove to myself maybe that like I was worthy of like making money, or I was someone who could make money.
Where do you think that comes from? Like, did you grow up with?
No, it's really weird. I grew up in like a very normal, like, you know, we weren't like balling, but we never like...
You didn't go without?
No, we never went without. And if anything, like, you know, I grew up in quite a middle class family. So it's a really strange like thing that's like, I don't know really where it comes from. I think it's maybe just because obviously in this world, like money is one of the big markers of success, right? Which is most people's marker of success. And I think I just wanted that kind of, what is the ultimate validation? Or to me, the ultimate validation was like making £1 million. Like that was ultimate validation of like, I'm a worthy human, which now I'm like, it's laughable. It's like completely crazy. But yeah, I was just obsessed with it.
I think that raises an interesting conversation though, because I feel like a lot of people are obsessed with making money or chasing money, and a lot of people don't actually know why.
I didn't know why.
Yeah, so I think that a lot of people kind of can relate to that. I think it's because from, you know, a society perspective, or if you're in it's people that tweet like, rise and grind at like 4 a.m.
That was what I was doing.
So it's like everybody is kind of selling this idea of boss life and workaholic hustle culture, and it's just at the end of the day it's like, yeah, cool, but a lot of people don't even have the time to enjoy the money that they're making because they are just so...
No, exactly. It's really toxic. It's very, very toxic
1,000%
way of life. And I know that I've changed now because I can look at that and go, that's a horrible thing to like aspire to, like that hustle culture. But at the time, it's all I aspired to. Was like, I want people to see me as like a hustler. I want people to be like, oh my gosh, she's such a go-getter. Like, she's so ambitious. But like, I've got kids and I've got a husband, and like, they're just like paying the price for it.
Yeah.
And my priority is that. Like, and exactly as you said, like, I didn't know why I wanted to make £1 million. Like, people ask me all the time, and I was like, just because, like, and if I'd really thought about it, I'd be like, there is literally no reason other than like my ego or some kind of insecurity, like, needs that. And obviously I can see that now, but at the time it was like, yeah, just a strange obsession with the hustle. And then the person that I ended up working with was even more that, like, they were proper, like, hustle, like everything, like, just all the time, like masculine energy all the time. And so then I was a bit like that anyway. And then, like, you team up with someone who's even more that, it was just like, like disgustingly toxic.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But great that you can kind of, do 180s and see the other side to that.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably like, it's such a horrible thing that like I went through and I put my family through. But then at the same time, I'm like, it just needed to happen. Like, it absolutely needed to happen for me to like become a better person and for me to like go to wherever I'm going to go to now, which I don't know what that is, but like, I know that I'm a lot more happy and I'm a lot more peaceful, and I'm not, obsessed with random numbers and things that like literally have no point.
Yeah. Cause it's like you found the validations within yourself.
Well, I think I just realised that when it's all stripped away and it's like, oh, you can't have validation anymore because the public doesn't like you. And like the media don't like you.
Court of public opinion says you're cancelled.
Like, okay, shit. Well, yeah, essentially I'm like, shit, I've basically been cancelled. So I cannot get any validation from that anymore. And I didn't realise that, like, yeah, my whole life I'd been like getting validation from like having this public persona, even though, as I said, it's not ever anything I wanted. But it's like a drug, like you get a little bit and then you get a bit more. And yeah, I kind of was like, oh, well, I can't get my validation there anymore. So what do I do? And then I was like, oh, I have to actually like enjoy life. And I think that's a lot of like where it's not that deep, like mantra came from, because, it was really like hard to like get my head around what had happened. And when you think your life and career is going like a certain way and then it kind of all goes basically tits up, it's like, one of the only things that kind of like kept me going was like this mantra of like, it's not that deep. Like, yeah, okay, everyone hates me today. They're probably not all going to hate me in 5 years. Like, in the grand scheme of things, like, this is really not that deep. Like, I'm just one person and there's a million people out there. Like, if I'm getting this kind of hate, like, imagine what like actual celebrities, like the kind of hate they're getting, and like they still show up every day. So like, yeah, I think that it's not that deep thing just kind of really kept me like getting that perspective. Like, I'm like a speck in the world, and at most what I'm gonna live for like 100 years, like of the grand of like the whole universe, like whatever. And then I was just like, oh well, nothing I do really is that important anyway. I just lost all the ego and attachments to it.
No, I find solace in the same thing. Like, my favorite thing when I'm like overly stressed or upset or something, my favorite thing is to go to the beach and to at nighttime and to look at the sky and to see the stars. And it's just like, if just being reminded of how small and insignificant I am,
exactly,
brings me peace. Because it's like, in my head and in my world, my actions have a huge consequence and an impact. And of course, you know, I would hope that some of them do, but not all of them do.
Yeah.
And whether I decide to wake up tomorrow and get out of my bed and do something, or to stay in my bed and cry all day, the grand scheme of things, no one's gonna care. The world is still spinning. Like,
yeah.
So yeah, I find peace in that myself, and I think that everybody has to go through kind of an ego death, especially if you're on the journey of spirituality. It's like,
absolutely.
Otherwise, you know, you can't be happy in life if you submit to your ego. And I don't think it's I think it's an everyday thing. Like, I think you have to work on it.
Yeah, I
constantly.
think so. I feel like we're kind of constantly like in fight with our ego all the time. And I think like obviously because I went through that experience now, I think I'm a bit more, well, a lot more, I'd like to hope I'm a lot more aware of when it's starting to be like, I want to get out there, you know. Like even the other day I was doing some work for a friend of mine who's an interior designer, and I like picked out some things and she was like, oh no, I don't like those, or like they're not going to work. And I could feel my ego was like, excuse me,
doesn't know what she's
like,
talking about.
I'm good at this, like blah blah blah. And then I literally had to sit myself down. I was like, Sarah, like you're helping her do her job. Like it's not about you doing the job, and it's not about whether you've added your like flavor to it. It's literally her job and you're helping her. And I think like I'm so much better at like catching my ego like much quicker. And obviously there's still going to be so much more room to go, but I'd like to hope that I've got it like in its little cage. Stay there.
I think that's I just find it really refreshing that you're so open to just talk about the fact that, you know, you went through a shit time and you kind of had to reassess what was important to you. And I think it's everything that people will like heavily relate to. It's just not, you don't hear a lot of people talk about it, especially people talk about like, everyone wants to pretend that negativity on social media doesn't bother them. And
I used to be that. It doesn't bother me. Like, they're you know, if they're sad enough to sit at home and write the thing, but trust me, when you can have that attitude when it's like feels like a small group, but when it then feels like the entire, like it genuinely felt like, and this sounds ridiculous because obviously it wasn't. It genuinely felt like everyone online like thought I was a bad person, and not only thought I was a bad person, but like they genuinely thought that I had like intentionally set out to like scam loads of people and intentionally was going to try and make myself loads of money and make other people lose money, which like to me and anyone who knows me is just so like that's not the truth. But that's what reinforced my thing of like, these people don't know me, like they think they know me. And because I was so open online, I was like, everyone knows me. And then I was like, why don't they know that I wouldn't do that? And it's like when you have what feels like the whole online existence, like be like you're a shit person, it really fucks with you. It's different if you feel like people are just kind of like hating you for the sake of it, like, you know, celebrities, and they'll be like, oh, who does she think she is, like doing this or whatever. You can easily just dismiss it as trolling or whatever. But when, you know, there's so many people angry and like
questioning your morals,
questioning my moral, like I was literally like having to sit there and be like, are they right? Like have I done this thing, or like where have I gone wrong, or like is it true? And it took a long time for me to like really like find my like level again, where I was like, okay, I know it's not true. I know I never set out with this intention to do any of these things. And luckily I've got really good like friends and family around me who obviously like were like, we know you don't do that. We know that's not who you are. And it just helped me really like separate that, like that's the online world and these people literally don't know me. They've literally never even had a proper conversation with me. They just have an idea of who I am, and it's like this like fake avatar and
it's just ones and zeros.
It just kind of made me be like, oh okay, yeah, maybe like I'd hate that person too if I saw that, or I'd think they were a douche or whatever. And then I was like, but I can know that it's not really like the real me. And that made it a bit easier to deal with. But yeah, people can say it doesn't hurt, but even if you hear it, it goes in somewhere like on your subconscious. and I would find that like I'd go to do something and all the voices would be like, she's da-da-da, she's da-da-da, I still hear it even now, but it's just less. Yeah, it's dark. It's horrible. I don't know why people do it, but it's because you've got a barrier between you and the person.
Yeah, 100%. And it's also not normal for someone to it's not normal to have access to that many people's opinions about anything so easily, or just at your hand. But moving on to some lighter stuff, because it's been
it's been fun.
It's been very deep, even though it's not meant to be that deep.
It's meant to be like all irreverent and breezy.
But so everything kind of ties back to, as you were saying, you're very creative. You felt like your creativity got stifled. You're back into it. We'd love to hear that. But so where did that kind of stem from? What has your inspiration been? Like, was it growing up you loved to draw, you just love to sing or make kind of music, or is it something that came at a later date?
When I was a kid, I feel like I always kind of went more towards the creative stuff as a kid. Like I had a really great primary school that really encouraged like art and music and stuff.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, like we had such a good music like facilities in our primary school. Like we would, like in assembly you have to sing like, give me oil in my lamp, keep like all these hymns.
Yeah, hymns.
But we never sang that. We would always just sing like Michael Jackson and like, it was sick. It was
in assembly.
Fun. In assembly.
And
they teach us all like the different parts and like the different harmonies. So we would sing like Earth Song. Can you imagine like all the kids in primary school singing Earth Song with that like everyone screaming. But so that was really good. So I just loved music. We had a little band in like primary school with the xylophones. So I was always really into music. So that was kind of like a natural thing for me to get into. Like when I was like 14, 15, it was like the UK garage scene. So I had decks and like would try and like make tunes. So that was like a natural.
You're like the coolest woman I've ever met.
No, I'm not. Yes, I'm not. I'm literally like,
yes, you are
a super geek.
From a xylophone to decks.
In it, like you watch this progression. But it was like whatever the boys were doing, I was like, oh, the boys have got decks. I'm gonna get decks. Like, why should a girl not have decks as well? Like, why should I not be able to mix if they're all like standing around mixing? So like whatever they would do, I would just like want to do it as well. God knows why.
Did you feel like it was something that you had to prove? Like, did you, as you were saying, because why them and not me? Like, that must have been something that you were obviously conscious of, which means that it must have been. I
think there was obviously. I think there's been a running theme throughout my life of like whatever men can do, whatever boys can do. Like I'm going to try and do that thing, and God knows where that comes from. Probably some little kid in primary school is mean to me or something. I'll be like, right, I'll fucking show you.
Yeah.
But so that's kind of how I got into it. And then I went to music college and did like production and stuff. And then from that was like the days of MySpace. So I would just like upload like random songs that I'd made. And then I ended up getting a management deal off the back of that because some manager like found my stuff on MySpace, like God knows. And then I, like started putting out music, like could never get a record deal because I was always like too like off the wall, which I found really frustrating. Like, because I was like, I'm working so hard and I'm doing all this crazy different stuff. Why is no one signing me? And obviously now I look back and I'm like, because you need to be more like fit in a box.
Yeah.
And I was too like, one day I'm going to make reggae. The next day I'm going to make like an electro song. And so I could never really like get a record deal. Yeah,
they didn't know what to.
No, and I didn't like to. I didn't ever want to play the game. Like I'm very bad at playing the game. Like I never want to. If it's like, oh, all you need to do is just go out to all the parties and like schmooze. I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like I never want to play along. Like I always like to kind of subvert and go like a different way.
I heavily feel that. Like in regards to the whole sneaker scene, like community, it's like I don't want to have to network and tell people about it. I just think that the work should show for itself. But obviously I see that people
sadly, like networks, I think.
Networking.
I know, sadly, for introverts and people like us, the internet has helped us a lot.
Yeah.
Because obviously you can network online, and it's not the same as having to be like, I genuinely, if I go into a room full of people to network, it's like my entire body like shuts down and I'm just like drained like within 5 minutes, which is just the typical introvert thing. Like things like that are just so draining. But yeah, networking like clearly helps.
It's not, mine isn't that I'm an introvert. I wouldn't say I'm an introvert or extrovert, to be honest. I like my own space and I can be around people, but I can be, for example, I went to lunch with my friend the other day and there was also a group of other people, and it was like she was kind of cool with them, I wasn't cool with them, so I was very much happy to just sit there and eat my food in silence. Yeah, while she cracked on with them, because I was like,
wow, she's friendly.
Well, the thing is if I feel like I disagree with someone's core beliefs, then a part of me just doesn't care to have like general chit chat with you, because it's like fundamentally whether I think you're a good person or a bad person, I just don't think that you're someone that I don't want your energy around me.
I think that is, yeah, maybe that's not an introvert trait, but that's definitely like one of the things that I struggle with as well, like small talk. Like I would rather do what we're doing now and go straight into like, oh my God, what are your beliefs about life? And like, tell me, the big life lessons that you've learned. Like I would rather get into that with somebody. I can't have this like, hey, where are you going on holiday? Da, da, da. Which, you kind of have to do.
But that's what it's like. Networking is that, or it's like if I'm going to a networking event, obviously the point of it is to meet as many people as I can, in that short amount of time, and that means that the conversations that I'm having, they have no substance to them, because we don't have enough time for us to, because people aren't comfortable to. I honestly, anybody can ask me how I am and I will give you an honest answer right there and then. I don't care about your response to me. I just care that I'm going to give you an honest answer. But not everybody is like that. And to be honest, I didn't used to be like that. I've just kind of gotten to a point where I'm like,
you just get older, innit? You're like,
it's like everybody is fed up. It's like, do you know what I mean? As much as somebody says they're happy, you're either pissed off at the government, you're pissed off at the petrol prices, you're pissed off at something. It's like, I think
something in life is one.
Everyone can just say, you know what, I'm not all right today, but I'm getting through it. Is what it is.
Yeah. I like the kind of one-to-one networking. Like I've always found what works for me, and if you're a creative person watching this and you're like, I also cannot stand networking, what I try and do is find people that I feel like are interesting online, and I then try and meet with that person like on their own. So I'll be like, oh, should we go and get coffee, or like let's go and get dinner or whatever. Yes, it means you're, as you said, not going to meet as many people, but I feel like I'd rather have, 5 people where I've been to dinner with them, we've had like a proper chat, than know like 500 people, but they only really know this sort of like fake, like 5-minute version of me.
Yeah, 1000%. It's like you might have it's quality over quantity.
Yeah.
But yeah, I find like I can see just some hindrances to myself, like just in what I'm doing. So it's like I know that in every industry, networking it's obviously hugely important.
It's so true.
But yeah, so your creativity, your inspiration, obviously you're a rebel. You wanted to say fuck you to the man, clearly. No. So let's go into, do you mind if we jump straight into starting Not That Deep store, or do you want to?
No.
Yeah. So let's talk about the store. I know that it's obviously you try and be sustainable. You have a roadmap to sustainability. You print on organic cotton. I mean, there's a lot more that you do that into like local embroiders.
We're trying,
stuff like that.
It's not easy, but we're trying.
Yeah, no, especially for like a new brand or like a startup brand, trying to do that whilst remaining ethical and sustainable. It's like you already are against.
Oh my God, yeah,
you know, against all the fast fashion and the brands that have managed to. So on top of that, you want to source things that obviously are ethical, and with that obviously comes a higher price tag. And it's just, as consumers, you're just so not used to. People's perception of pricing is so skewed because of, like, you know.
H&M.
Yeah.
Pretty little thing, like no, you name it, IKEA, all of it.
Yeah.
IKEA are quite good, obviously, but yeah, it's all like skewed our perceptions. And the thing is, like, before I started it, I would have been exactly the same. Like, obviously, I could see why a brand or a designer item would be more expensive because I could understand the value of brand. Could I understand the value of like the product or the quality of the product or like the materials? Not at all. I would never have even valued it. And it's only like now I've got into it, I'm like, oh, what is this made out of? Like, how long is this going to last? I wonder what their supply chain is like. It's still not like the number one thing I think about by any means. Like, we don't go out there and advertise as our first thing like we're a sustainable brand because we're so far off like where I want to be with it. But we're just trying, like, and I was kind of like, there's no point in starting just another streetwear brand that like has a sick brand and has hype, but like is just adding to it, you know. And this is where I can keep, that's why it's helpful to have my ego in check, because before I would have been like, well, my ego wants a brand, so I don't care like what it's made out of or whatever. I'm just going to do it because I need to fulfill my thing. But now it's like, at least I could be like, look, there's no point in doing it unless I'm going to at least attempt to like do these things. And that's why we have the roadmap on our website, because I'm like, we're not there yet. And we've still got things we need to sort out.
Yeah.
But we'll try. And we are trying.
So let's start with, how did the brand come about? Obviously, it's you and your husband, or your partner. So what kind of made you start that? I can imagine it's because of everything that you kind of learned, as you were saying, from your past experience to apply the mantra.
Yeah, it's so weirdly, I've kind of always wanted a streetwear brand. Like, my first ever job that I absolutely loved, well, not my first job, that was in a fish and chip shop, but like my first meaningful job was in JD Sports when I was like 16. And even back then, and it was not what it is now, I just fell in love with like sneaker culture and like tracksuits, and you know, that I just basically since then have like always just lived in like baggy tracksuits, cozy sportswear stuff, like always loved whatever trainers were going on.
Speak my language.
Yeah. And so even throughout all the years, I just always joked like, oh, haha, yeah, one day I'm going to start a brand, one day I'm going to start this really colourful like tracksuit line. And it was kind of like crazy. And then I think like when lockdown happened, I was like, oh my God, everyone's wearing tracksuits. Like, this is what I've always been saying. Like, why don't we have tracksuits, like pink head to toe tracksuit? Why don't I have a purple a tie-dye tracksuit? This is what like I would just love my wardrobe to be like, every colour.
For every different day of the week.
Yeah, literally. Because I'm like, I just want to be cozy. And also, when I wear like baggy clothes or like a tracksuit, I literally feel like my most confident, which I know for a lot of girls, it's like, oh, they want to be glam and like sexy. I'm like, no, I just want to be like, feel cool. And yeah, so I'd always joked about it. Or like over the years, anyone who knows me, they'll be like, there was always me going, one day this. And then, yeah, obviously when all that stuff happened, we started a different business. It was originally called Boss Magic, and it was originally like it sold all the cards and crystals and like all spiritual stuff. And we made a couple of t-shirts with like manifesting kind of prints and stuff that said it's not that deep. And I could see that people really liked the t-shirts and they kept like selling out. And I was like, this stuff's selling like just as well as the other stuff, if not better. And I like doing it so much more because I put that idea down. Whereas like obviously with crystals or like tarot cards or whatever, I was just buying in other people's and selling theirs. And so I was like, over time I was kind of like, maybe this is just time to like pivot the brand before this Boss Magic thing gets bigger. Like I should just early on like shift to where I really want to go, which is just finally fucking do this like streetwear thing.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it took a bit of time to like kind of work up to it, because we'd already built an audience, so I wanted to be like, look, we are going to change it and this is what's going to happen. So I wanted to kind of like warm them up to it. And then yeah, we just finally did it.
And what was the response like?
the response was pretty good actually, because I think because we'd already done the t-shirts and jumpers with the not that deep thing on the back, like I already knew that like slogan was popular, and it had as you said, it held so much meaning, like in like England, or if not the world. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just such a catch-all like response to like, oh, your friend's being dramatic, or like
I would literally sometimes rant and then just at the end be like, oh, I know.
Yeah, it's like you're talking to yourself. You're like, oh, fucking shut up, Sarah. It's not that deep. Like, it's just such a, and it just perfectly summarizes like my personality, which is just like this kind of, no, whatever, like whatever. Everything's just irreverent. And so, yeah, the response was pretty good at the beginning, but obviously these things take time. Like it's still so early days, like, and we still don't have anywhere near like the kind of audience I want it to have, or like be selling the kind of units we want to have. But it's early days, and like just got to keep going.
Yeah. I think I've seen like, one thing I love about your brand is obviously everything's called unisex. Like,
yes,
I see men wearing the jumpers, I see women wearing the jumpers, and I love that. I think that a lot of people now are starting brands, like clothing brands, which is obviously great if you have an idea. But as you said, it was like you don't want to bring something to the table if it's already there. Like you don't just want to add to the mass, consumption capitalist market for no reason. And I feel like you being someone that obviously enjoyed typical, menswear, being tracksuits or typical things that men would enjoy, like sneakers or trainers or just anything, like freaking DJing or whatever. It's like you follow that through into kind of the brand that you put out. It's like you and your partner together, you decided you're not going to segregate.
Yeah.
You're just going to put everything in one line. And I think I think stuff like that is what's going to have change in the long run. I think that it's all good and well, people talking about the issues that they have and whatever, but until things actually start changing, like at the point that they need to, there's no point in the conversation.
Yeah, it's funny, like the whole like kind of unisex, like gender, like fluidity thing. It feels weird to me that it's even like a conversation in clothing, because like I honestly have just always bought from like everywhere, whether it's men's, women's. If anything, like I go through my wardrobe, 90% of it is probably like men's clothing, and I've just never really thought of that a thing. And somehow, like, people making stuff that's unisex is like, oh wow, anyone can wear it. I'm like, haven't we all been doing this anyway? But like maybe not, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I feel like our audience is probably predominantly women, because obviously I'm like the face of everything. So I think they see a woman, they think, oh, it's a women's like brand. But hopefully when they then come on like the site, and we're always working on, I'm always like, we need more men on it, because I'm like, I cannot use my husband all the time. He hates me for doing, like, can you come and take a picture? I'm like, we need to get some actual male models. But like, yeah, it's just, I'm like, well, why wouldn't a man wear like a pink jumper, or like, women have been wearing like men's baggy stuff. Like, why would a man not wear like something that's considered a woman's colour, or like, I just think it's like, it shouldn't even be like a question. It's just normal, isn't it? And it's so much easier if you just like, who needs like a size 8, a size 6 or whatever? Like, just buy small, medium.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, it's just much easier.
No, I agree, but I feel like obviously when you say why is it even in conversation, I agree, but I think we say that because we're equally women that have male interests. Like we've always like you said, it's normal to you to just go and shop in the men's section. I realized when it was a bigger deal than I thought it was when I started to see, like, for example, TikToks being like, oh my God, girls, like, run to the men's section, like they have the best t-shirt.
That's so true.
And I was like, you haven't been doing this since you were 16.
Exactly. I'm like, don't we all do this? Oh no, we don't.
Yeah, and then I realized that no, that's not, like, that's actually not what people were taught. And I always talk like from I have an older brother, like a lot of who I am, like down to my musical taste and stuff is very much inspired by him. Like, so I always know that I'm coming from a kind of biased perception.
Yeah.
Because it was normal to me. And also we weren't like, again, like you, like we weren't that well off, but we also weren't poor. But, you know, like a lot of kids in the 90s, they had a lot of hand-me-downs. It's like it didn't matter if that came from an older sister or a brother. Like if it fits, you're wearing it. But yeah, I don't know. It's just a different world.
I guess if you've kind of grown, I think it's easier as well for women to access into men's stuff, and obviously there's not really much judgment. If anything, it's like, maybe as you said, they're not used to it. Like a lot of women are, oh, you could wear a men's thing and it will look cool, but at least there's not massive judgment around it.
Yeah.
Whereas like flip it the other way, and it's like, imagine a man on TikTok being like, guys, run to the women's section, like they've got amazing, I don't know, leggings or something.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's a lot more like, I'm not going to shop in the women's section. Like there's so much more judgment. There's always more judgment when it comes to like doing something that's women's, because it's seen as like, I don't know, like weaker or like uncool or something. But I'm like, why? If like, you know, our stuff might be better fitting, or like, I don't know. It's just like, I guess, you know, it shows like my privilege in a, like, maybe not the normal way that people talk about privilege, but in the sense of like, I've not ever been exposed to like, oh, you shouldn't wear this or you shouldn't wear that. It's always just been like, oh, you can do whatever you like, and I've not ever been like judged for it.
Or if you were exposed, I feel like you have kind of been exposed to that, just because I feel like you felt it. You were conscious of the fact that
maybe,
you know, a big fuck you, like as you were saying earlier. But I think perhaps it wasn't as in your face. But I feel like for a lot of women, it's never in your face. Like it's all the subconscious media, like propaganda around you.
Exactly.
That makes you feel a type of way.
You should be a therapist. You're good at like, you're like connecting. I'm gonna go home and be like, what happened? Why do I want to prove the men that I can do it? Someone's obviously told me somewhere along the line, but I'm like, who is it? What happened?
I was exactly 4 years old.
Exactly. I'm like, I can't remember any of this.
I should stop. I'm gonna start. I was just about to open the cards. Should I not?
Oh, I'm like, I mean, have you looked at those cards?
I got one out and it was so deep. I was like, right, you know what? Let's do this on the podcast.
I mean, some of them that come out are scary. So,
right. So, guys, we're gonna play a game.
Therapist Sandy.
We're gonna play a game with Therapist Sandy and Sarah. 1 second, I need to move the microphone.
Oh God, this could go horribly wrong, or it could be fine.
Yeah, I will check the card before I pull it out. But these are the Know Yourself cards. You can get these on the Not That Deep store.
We have got some left.
And basically they're just to understand who we really are.
Yeah, they're good cards. They're like so yeah, we've got kind of like a few different sets of cards where like they're either to get to know yourself or like to get to know someone else better, or like they're oracle cards or like gratitude cards or whatever. And yeah, those ones I just always find are quite good for like, they're good for like if you want to journal about something, or like, you know, you meet someone the first time and you want to like put them on the spot and ask them a really deep like question about their life. And I'm like,
I was going to take these on a picnic.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Well, yeah, but then I pulled one out and I was like, absolutely no chance.
Be like, I'm not that one.
Yeah, true.
I mean, there's a worse one that we used to have that was called the Confessions game. I wish I still had it because I'd send you one. But like, it was literally, there was questions in there like, tell us about the first time you masturbated. And like, you're in a group of people and you're like, no,
actually,
no,
I don't want to know that.
Just move it on.
All right, so for the first time ever, I'm going to let you ask me a question.
Oh, all right.
Well, whatever I pick out, I'll give to you.
Okay.
Oh my God. I'm actually nervous.
It's going to be really tame.
Is that one? Is it two? What is it?
It literally just says, what happened to you in your childhood? I love the phrasing of it as well. It's not like, tell us about your childhood.
What happened to me in my childhood? I had a good childhood. My dad was disabled when I was 8 years old. Well, he was disabled. That doesn't make any sense. My father had a stroke when I was 8, and has since been disabled. I would say that's the most impacting thing of my childhood. Obviously, I've been a parent for more time than my parent was a parent to me. Like,
oh, so you really had to like look after your dad?
Yeah. Well, we all did. Like, but if you want to get really deep,
come on.
I feel like this obviously must have like impacted me for a lot of years. I feel not that I had daddy issues or stuff, but just like I think it was more internal anger, like of just not having. I became really independent, like at a really young age. It sounds like I was crying. Honestly, I promise I wasn't. I just ran out of my water. But recently, I have obviously learnt that I am very thankful to kind of, it was a horrible way to have learned that lesson, but I am very happy to have been independent. I feel like me and my siblings are a lot closer because of it.
Yeah.
And my mum, yeah. God bless her. She obviously she wasn't a single parent, but she kind of had to take on that role. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I was a Indian girl growing up in a very predominantly white area, but I think I was as happy as I could be, to be honest. The kids were
good.
The kids that I went to school with were really nice. They always made me feel welcome.
That's good.
Yeah, I had a dog, had a Rottweiler.
Had a dog.
I had a great childhood, honest. And I feel like a lot of first gen kids, or especially a lot of kids that didn't grow up with a lot of money, I feel like a lot of people will say that they had a good childhood, like that they were at least happy. I feel like you just find happiness in the dumbest stuff that don't cost money. It's just like spending time together and stuff.
Yeah, that's very.
But yeah, that's what happened in my childhood.
I like it.
Right.
I mean, I'm glad that you're very open and honest about it.
Yeah, I think that I mean it took a long way to get to that, but also I think that because I really enjoy conversation, I really enjoy, like as I was saying, get to know people, and I feel like one thing that I try and apply to myself and try and teach other people is like vulnerability doesn't exist. It's like you can only use something against me if I allow you to. I don't care for anyone to. Someone can say whatever they want to me. It's like I'm very comfortable in anything that I've ever done or has ever happened. It's like you hold no power in knowing anything about me. Yeah,
it's true. It's a good way to see it. Like, because what is vulnerability really? It's like you're only vulnerable if like you believe you are, or like, I mean, unless we're talking about like in a physical sense, but like. It's only what you think other people could do to you, isn't it? I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, 1,000%. No, yeah, I 100% agree. And especially as I like, I like to, not interview, but ask people, interview people to a degree. And I think if I'm asking other people to open up, I have to be open.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Right, so.
I'm scared now.
Now it's your turn.
So mine's going to be like awful, probably.
Thank you. Oh God, this is long.
Oh.
If I was a kind of weather, I'd be
me.
This was like a poem. Maybe pick a different one because that's like more than one question.
Oh,
sorry. Unless you want to say a weather.
What colour would you be? I'm like, I don't know. Does this mean anything?
Oh, I'd be duck egg blue.
Oh, you like blue, right?
I do.
I'd be pink, so maybe
I can
maybe
tell.
it is relevant.
Oh, okay, this is a very good question to slightly end the podcast on.
Oh, all right.
Rank in order of importance for you in your career: money, status, creativity, social impact, and colleagues.
Okay, let me see it so I can, because I'll forget them after the first one. Okay, well, this is kind of interesting based on what we've spoken about, because money would have been number one. No, do you know what would have been number one before? Would have been status.
Well, you can do what would have been.
Yeah, before it would have been status, money, creativity, social impact, colleagues. I think now it would be like creativity number one, 100%.
Yep.
I'd still put money up there because like none of us want to be broke.
Yeah.
But not at the expense of creativity. So I'd put it second. Colleagues, I think I'd probably value a lot higher, because I've seen that like when you work with people that you genuinely like have so much fun with, and they're like great minds, like you can just create like such cool stuff and you enjoy your work then. Like me getting to work with my husband, or like being able to bring in like one of my best friends is an amazing makeup artist. Like, you know, Titi, don't you?
Yep.
Like Titi's doing art direction for us. Like my other friend like makes music as well. Like being able to just have something where I can bring in these people, like just makes work so much more fun.
Yeah.
So I put that, and then I'd probably put like social impact and status like around the same. Yeah, I'm way less bothered about status now. Way less bothered.
Yeah.
I guess my ego's like in its little box, so I don't need that validation. I'd rather just make some cool creative shit.
Well, I think that says a lot about your kind of, that you're on the right path, and that everything kind of happened for a reason in order to allow you to have the change in mindset.
Yeah. I think like if you're a creative person and it's where you like if you can make something and then like look at it afterwards and be just genuinely proud of it, like for yourself, whether it's a piece of clothing, a piece of art, a piece of music, a podcast, whatever, if you're genuinely happy with it at the end and it brings you like fulfillment and you've had a great time doing it and it's peace, I'm like, just do not trade that for anything, because it's so important and it's so rare. And I think like 90% of people probably don't have access to that, and it's such an incredible like thing to have access to, and it's probably like way more valuable than money, like long term. You're like, well,
no, actually I was taking it in because recently I have just not, I've said a few things to my friends and they've been like, you need to just remember why you're doing the podcast.
Oh, what have you said?
No, just that like I just make jokes. It's just an expensive hobby. Like,
oh, I know.
You know
but
what I mean?
Expensive hobbies are the best ones. Fine.
Well, it's true, but I just wish that I could,
You know,
I had that disposable income. But what you just said in regards to it being more what I feel, but it being more valuable, then I was just kind of having an epiphany that, you know
you're
what,
like,
it is worth it.
It's like I'm learning Korean, right? There's no reason for me to be learning Korean. I just genuinely was like, this would be fun.
That's so sick.
Or like, oh, I need to challenge myself. But like, it's so expensive. Like, honestly, like all the apps to learn and all the books to like read. And then I have a tutor and like have 2 sessions a week with the tutor. And then I'm doing like a test at the end of the year, which like all of this is stuff I have to pay for. And it's like, this is a ridiculously like expensive hobby. And then if I actually want to go to Korea and like use it, that is even more expensive, which obviously then I'm going to want to do, because I'm like, what else would I learn?
Yeah, you can't not speak.
And honestly, sometimes I'm just like, why am I doing this? But I'm always just like, because I'm actually like, it's so fun. I really like doing it.
No, I love that. You've given me a new like perception, new breath of fresh air.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
It's more to life than money. Creativity is like equally, and personal fulfillment is equally valuable, but also it costs a lot to live right now. So if anyone watching this wants to like, you know, buy some of my clothes or like sponsor Sandy's podcast, like, we're not going to say no.
Yeah, please feel free to make a donation.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what do you have coming up? Let the people know.
We've got a drop. When's this coming out?
Oh, good question. This will be coming out. Well, when's your drop actually?
Tomorrow.
Oh, it's not coming out in time.
It's not coming out tomorrow.
I was gonna say if it was like next week, I could push it out early for you, but no, sorry.
We've got a little drop coming tomorrow, which I don't know, might still be going when this comes out. I
mean, I'll give you some promo.
Yeah, there's always stuff for sale, guys. Just come and
check out the website.
Come and buy something. Yeah, we've got a little drop tomorrow, and then honestly, like I've stopped kind of really like planning much ahead. Like,
well, that's great when you have a place to promote something.
I know. I'm like, just basically come and have a look.
Yeah.
Just come and have a look at my clothes.
Have a
See if you
gander.
like
You
something.
can get this cap that's currently.
I know, it looks really good on you, you know. Like,
Thank you.
With the blue tracksuit as well.
Do
Like,
you like what I did?
because I've got them at home, obviously, in all the colours, and I can never quite like match it with something I'm wearing. But now I'm like, I need to wear it with the blue outfit.
So you know how you said you needed models.
Yeah, anytime, honestly, like any time, because I'm like, please come.
I'm available when you need me.
Okay,
but no, actually, can I say hashtag not spawn, hashtag she's not pay me. This is very comfortable. Like
good.
The shape of it. I used to wear a lot of New Eras back in the day, and then now I've kind of stopped because they come too far down, like for my head. This I feel like is a great.
So that is because that's a low profile cap. So low profile.
And that's how I like to be.
It's short, low profile. It's like shorter here. And it like fits me really well. But like my husband puts it on and it literally just like covers the top of his head. He was like, who's buying these? Like, why do people like these? I was like, because we don't all have massive heads. But he has to have the like proper deep ones. But yeah, I like those. They're a bit more like casual.
And I think like in time, just now the sun's like proper coming out and stuff. It's just
exactly. They're
so
good,
lightweight.
like summer, so you could buy a cap.
Yes, you can buy one.
Buy a cap.
But yeah, so make sure you go and check out notthatdeepstore.com.
Yes.
And the Instagram
is just not that deep store. It's not that deep store on everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
Make sure you check them out. Make sure you. Do you want to plug anything that you've done in the past?
I mean, I've got a book. You can buy my book about manifesting and like my kind of approach to manifesting, which we didn't really talk about, but you can read the book and find out. That's it. That's fine. Buy the book, buy the t-shirt.
Do you have any music still out?
I've got music that I'm going to put out. But when I say I'm going to put it out, as in I'm not like trying to make a big fuss with it. It's literally just like I want to put it out.
Passion project.
Fun. Just literally for fun. But yeah, I do it with my brother, which is really good as well because it's just nice for us to like hang out and make tunes.
Oh, that's so sick.
Yeah,
You'll be like
really
Billie Eilish and Phineas.
Exactly like that.
Like now when people talk about brother and sister, that's who they are.
But with like maybe 10% of that talent. And like 10%, we meet up like literally for about 2 hours about once a month. So like we've made 4 songs and it's genuinely taken us a year to make 4 songs because we meet up for like 3 hours and probably one of those hours we're just like eating or like chatting shit and then we're like, we should probably make some tunes. But yeah, we will just because we love it and it's super fun. But yeah, maybe I'll get a bit more prolific with it in time.
No, you definitely have to promote that. But yeah, I shall keep an eye out for it. You guys make sure you keep an eye out as well.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, I also would love to get into hearing about manifestation. So we might have to have Sarah back on.
We could do a part 2. We could do a manifesting special.
We can.
And thanks for a podcast about things not being that deep. Literally being probably the deepest podcast I've ever done.
You're very welcome. That's what I do.
Yeah, I like it.
Well, I brought up childhood trauma. So
well, yeah, I blame you.
Who really has the short straw here? Well, on that note, thank you guys so much for listening. If you are watching, make sure you do like, comment, share, and subscribe. This has been Her Story in Sneakers. I've been Sandy, and I shall catch you guys in the next episode. Bye, guys.